Hello everyone and welcome to the 7th round of ExA Season 8 Division 2 Championship. We are here at Monza for the Italian Grand Prix and as we enter the second half of the season. A 3.5 mile tempo of speed contains just 11 corners, 4 to the left and 7 to the right, with 2 DRS zones filling in the remainder of the circuit. This circuit is played host to the most Grand Prix on a Formula 1 calendar, but it is certainly still a challenge. The fastest circuit on the calendar has seen legends etch their name into the winner's trophy, with drivers like Schumacher, Hamilton, Senna, Fangio, Prost, Lauda and many more taking victories on multiple occasions over the decades, as intense battles have ensued over winning in front of the Tifosi. I'm your commentator, James Jackson, and we have an exciting evening ahead of us tonight. But first, we have a few things we need to get through. Like last week's previous race results, Zoran won this race just 7/10 clear of Vicky Robo. Anton drops to was P3 in the final podium runner. Runner Ed P4 with Vigo P5, Ollie 6th, Nelu 7th, Flores 8th, John 9th, and Martin rounding out the top 10. With that in mind, we've got the driver standings, with Vigo continuing to lead the way, however only 3 points clear of Anton in P2, who's moved up the place ahead of Runner Red in the standings. The top 3 covered by 5 points. Then it is Iki Robo in P4, Zoran in P5, Iona in P6, Nelu in 7th, Kevin 8th with Paul Diver in 9th. Martin also ran that top 10, tied on points with Flores in 11th. With that in mind, we've got constructors standings, with McLaren leading the way by a single point over Alpine, with the French manufacturer only 4 points ahead of Ferrari. Haas only 1 point behind that in P4, with Red Bull in 5th on 110 points and Aston Martin in 6th with 99. Those top 6 constructors all covered by 22 points. Even closer if you look at the top 5, with only 11 points covering those top 5 teams. With that in mind, we are now into qualifying for the Italian Grand Prix. We've already got partway through. We've got some times already on the board. Sam Erling in the Sauber, 1:18.7, 4/10 clear of Dan in the Aston Martin, with Haas still in P3, Marty P4, Paul Diver P5, and then Ryan going to P2 with a 19 dead, dropping the rest of them behind, with Hanzo and Boeing, the last drivers to set a time. Who is next out on who is next up to the line? Let me quickly get some information up, because we got that data, that and all that. So there we go. So we currently have a Williams currently on an out lap, I believe, of Faded Exotic. Will go on with a lap around the tempo of speed, with the Williams of Faded going down towards turn 1, the very first chicane of the circuit. There's 3 on this circuit. A lot of this hard braking, very harsh lock up there into the first chicane, bouncing over the curbs, not quite getting the line probably they wanted to that lock up either. That would cost them a little bit of time. Now around Curva Grande, completely flat in the modern day Formula 1 cars, as you head down towards the second chicane of that, 26.5 in the first sector, bouncing across the curbs, trying to maximise the track limits and trying to not exceed them into Lesmo 1. Doesn't go fully onto that exit curb. You don't really want to at times as well, because you might lose a bit of traction. Into Lesmo 2, that's a fairly nice job keeping that in track limits. You've got to get a banker in on this session. It's very, even though there's not many corners, it's very easy to find a way off the circuit. 18.3 for V10. Leo puts himself fastest by 4/10 of a second. Faded going for Ascari now, has kept it clean through there, which is crucial. Those curbs on the apexes, very likely to cause people to spin, have oversteer, have any sort of undulation under the car. However, has managed it quite nicely as we go around Parabolica now. Kept the line quite tight, but up to the line at 18.9, 6/10 off of the Ferrari of V10 Leo. We've got another couple drivers yet to set a lap time. No, Haas still in the other Williams P7 at the moment invalidated their previous lap time and comes into the pit lane. Meanwhile, Rowley is currently on a lap 26.9 in the first sector. Where does the Sauber go? Teammate Sam in currently P2, but Rowley can Rowley catch him or get up to that position? It for Ascari now does a nice job through there, keeping it right to the white line, trying to maximise the amount of speed you take through there, increase your average speed, of course, down towards Parabolica now, and through the one of the most famous corners on the calendar. Does it absolutely beautifully up to the line. Where does ExA Rowley go? P12 with a 20.9. That is a very decent lap from the Sauber. We've got 5 drivers yet to set a time. Anton, who was our third place man last week. John in the RB. Nelu Safu in the Ferrari. Sonic in the other McLaren. And Iki Robo in the Red Bull. The only 5 drivers yet to set a time. Boeing 46.4 is the time they've set. So not a competitive, well, or a representative time. However, we will continue to see these laps unfold. We've got Iki Robo currently on a lap as we go down to someone used a bit of the slipstream there from their teammate of Paul Diver, who is trying to give them as much help as they physically can down these straights. However, that slipstream is very much cutting it. These two will want to be careful. They're trying to Iki Robo is trying to get as much help as possible. This Red Bull teamwork, while disruptive, can be seen as quite effective, as every opportunity that Red Bull of Robo is getting a lot of help. Now down towards the Ascari chicane, more DRS, more slipstream, and this is just more and more help. This is almost perfectly set up via the Red Bull outfit, and then you're gonna have the other Red Bull fly across the chicane to try and get as far away from the their teammate as possible, and it's just more slipstream, and this is going to be absolutely superb. Fires themselves out of the way through Parabolica into the final corner we go. This all the way up to the line is going to be the only time that Red Bull does not have a toe, and up to the line they go. 18.9, 6/10 off Leo. So in all that, even though that lap was superb, it did not give them a provisional pole position. That excellent stuff, but very, very risky to say the least. We've got Nelu Safu currently on a lap as well, going for the other Ferrari of the teammate of V10 Leo, current provisional pole sitter, is heading through their first time lap, hopefully for them, through the second Lesmo. As we go down towards Ascari, DRS gets a little bit of a toll of that Aston Martin in the distance. Every little helps as they go through Ascari. Does the Ferrari do make it a front row lockout for the Tifosi provisionally? We're going to go down towards the Parabolico. Has kept it clean so far this lap. Just got one more corner to ace. Does the Scuderia manage to do so? Has kept it clean, kept it well within the white lines, kept it to the inside as they cut back into the for the final part of the corner. A P9 for Nello. 19.1, only 700s off Anton, but that is very close nonetheless. We've got only 2 drivers now who have not set a lap time. Meanwhile, someone who is looking to set a lap time is Paul Diver. Never mind, he's come into the pit, so we should see our steel is coming around to on their outlap, so it will be Faded, who is the next driver to come across the line and start their flying lap. As we go down towards turn 1, does the Williams manage to improve upon their P4? Only 200 separate them and the Red Bull of Robo in front, but can they get anywhere near Leo in or Sam Arling? There's quite big gaps between them, the top 4 in that sense. We've got nearly 2 temps up in the first sector alone. That is good tracking for the Williams. Gets a bit on that grass though. It does not help them go through the first Lesmo. Can the Williams keep it in the white lines? Gets a bit more it gets a bit more aggressive with those white lines now. As now they've got that banker in, they know they can push it even harder. We saw that with Lesmo 2 right on the cusp, but has kept it in track limits. Goes to near, just over 2 tenths up as we go through Ascari. And the Williams is just looks comfortable to drive, which is crucial. You've got to make sure, yes, you can have the fastest time in one lap, but you've got to be have a car that is ready to run for race pace. Around Parabolica we go. And the Williams comes up to the line for the second time in their second time run. What time will we see from an 18.8? Puts himself P3 just ahead of Strikey, who went P3 before him only for a few moments ago, and moves into the top end, the top 3 of the grid. However, still a fair margin off of the top 2. It is going to become quite difficult to get ahead of Leo. What he's done on that lap has been superb. Will we see Sam do it? And unfortunately, not this time round. They are currently on a second banker lap, potentially. No, they are coming into the pits because that was not the lap they were looking for. We now got Haas still coming into the pits as well. So a number of drivers looking to just come in and get a new set of tyres, potentially, for their final runs. But Boeing 747 coming up towards the line now to start their flying lap. The Aston Martin currently down in P16, 1:46.4, certainly not a representative time for that Aston Martin. Into turn 1 and 2, gets a bit caught on that second curb. While it rotates the car, it loses traction, and that does not help them as they go all the way down towards Curva Grande and through Curva Grande as we go towards the second chicane. Slightly up on their personal best, 700ths to be precise. This must be some sort of significant error in this lap in one of the sectors as we now go through the first Lesmo, and keeps it right to the white lines. However, it does keep it in that track limits. Does the same again. 3 wheels over the white lines. Gets a snap of oversteer, almost invalidating. But the Aston Martin manages to use that skill of his to keep it in there. Now, there's the time. There's a significant time game we were expecting. Through Ascari we go. Can the Aston Martin continue to make improvements necessary? They've got a long way to go, though. It's got one more braking point to get right, but it's not just about the braking point. It's all about what you do on the braking, on turning, and on power, as you've got to make sure you optimise your line on this sweeper and get towards the line in as quick of a time as possible. 20.1 puts himself P15, exact same time as Hanos in the Mercedes. However, is quite far off of where they want to be. We've got a lot of drivers now coming out the pit lane to start their final flying runs. 2 minutes and 15 left in the session. Who could take pole? Everyone will begin filing out, but they don't want to be leaving it too late. You can't leave it too late because otherwise it could become a significant problem if you invalidate, because you don't want to leave it to that last minute and only give yourself one lap. You could give yourself a banker lap. None of these drivers are looking to do that, so we're going to have Leo, who has the fastest provisional time, ahead of Nello in the other Ferrari. I'll be interested to see what happens with these two Scuderias. They're going to now go round the Parabolica. We'll watch on and see whether Leo helps Nello get to that fastest time. He's going to give him a slipstream, going to give him a tow. They're both going to get used their DRS as we go down towards turn 1, where does Nelly put themselves? They're going to fly by the slow-moving Sauber as we go through the first chicane. Is Nelly going to use Leo as an opportunity to follow his lines and improve his lap time? We'll see as we go through Curva Grande now and towards the second chicane. Got a lot of traffic up ahead though, so they've got to be very careful not to get themselves caught up in this. 10th up already on their personal best for Nello. Leo probably up a little bit as well as we go through the first of the 2 Lesmos, as both the Ferraris flying in formation. Is it going to be enough? They're going to come up to some traffic now. The Williams moving by, but these guys have got to get a move on here because there's a lot of traffic up ahead and they've got to find space with only 42 seconds to go. There's going to be everyone trying to get a slipstream, trying to get a tow. Nello 300ths down on their personal best. That's not going to help them, and considering they've been in the slipstream of Leo all session, this could be just a skinning on the top 10. for the Ferraris. We've got around the parabolic canal and up towards the line. Where does the Ferrari put themselves? Does improve 2/10 up with a 19.0. Leo doesn't improve, and Leo's going to hope that 18.3 is good enough. We've got Sam, who's about to go for their first. No, never mind. That's their flyer. They had invalidated. That is P2 at best for the Sauber. We've got the Alpines now, who are looking to try and improve their times. We've got Strikey ahead of I've got a yellow flag. There's a Williams that is out the session. Who could that be? That is Faded Exotic, who's gone straight into the first Lesmo wall, and that has been costly. A bit of damage for Runner Red. That's going to completely ruin their session, as the man who is down in third in the standings looks to be probably losing out, not just on P10 but even more positions. We now go back to the top two drivers. Strikey to helps his teammate get a P3. Vigo to the top as our championship leader, gets only 500ths behind Sam Merling and 3/10 of Leo. Leo's done an extraordinary lap to get that. We've got Dan, who is up to the line, and Dan goes P7. Runner Red will have to go to the line with that front wing damage, and they're not going to get any sort of close to any sort of improvement in that meantime. We're going to have Rowley, who comes up to the line. 20.9 is the best they can do, and everyone comes across the line now, and that is going to be qualifying. P10 Leo done the time early on and done it with precision. Got himself a 3.5 gap over Sam Merling in P2, unless they take a pole position. Vigo P3 with Fade Exotic P4, Anton P5 with Strikey in P6, Dan P7, Paul Diver P8 ahead of their teammate of Icky Robo in P9. Nelu Safu rounds out the top 10. Runner Red in P11, Harsteel P12, Marty P13, Hans P14, Boeing P15, Rowley P16, John Sonic P17 and P18 without a time set. 18 drivers, and that is the session done. We've got a 27 lap race to come, and who will come out on top? Leo's pace seems to show it might be him. However, is that slipstream? We didn't see his lap. We'll have to see how much that affects him, or whether it was a quality setup. That's crucial as well. If you have a setup that is a more one lap pace and is not nice to its tyres, not nice to drive over a 45-minute race, you could find yourself in a bit of a predicament. That is qualifying then. Leo leads the way, 3/10 over Sam. Vigo just behind him. Fade Exotic and Anton ran out of top 5. However, apart from Leo, that gap between P2 and P13 is half a second, which is absolutely astonishingly close. As we now look towards the 5 red lights, which are yet to come the way. We will be back shortly. It won't be too long, as we form the grid, get tyre structures ready, and we'll be underway in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live for the Italian Grand Prix, and as you can see, it is full wet weather for what is to come. As you can see, all the drivers are on wet except 2. There's a mix of strategies, but we will go to 5 red lights for round 7. And it's lights out. And away we go. Drive-through penalty for Sam Early. Straight away, jumping the start. The Sauber, who started on the front row, is now going to end up right down the back of the field. Into turn 1 they dive. It is going to be difficult, considering it's full wet. However, it looks like many people got through. Clayton a couple drivers going onto the grass as we are 3 wide on many occasions. Sam takes the lead. However, that drive-through penalty, supremely costly. As we run down towards the second chicane now of turn 4 and turn 5, Sam leads away. Leo P2, Vigo P3. We're battling side by side with Anton in P4. Fade, and that costs the McLaren because they're going to go drop down behind Faded as they still side by side around the outside. The McLaren defends to the inside. The Williams attacks, but is that going to be enough? McLaren v Williams. We're going to go through the second leg, but they're still side by side. A little bit of a squirm as we go down towards the Ascari chicane. The McLaren of Anton takes it. However, Sam has dropped back after maybe a little error, and Leo has a 1.4 second lead. The ultimate equaliser has ultimately led to a bit of a breakaway of the field. They're everywhere. We've got drivers who are not just 2, 3 or 4 abreast. They're all trying to fight for position. We've now got Vigo trying to make a move on Sam for P2 as they go around the outside of the Sauber. The Alpine trying to make a move, but they haven't taken the optimised line because here comes the McLaren of Anton. We're going to go down towards the first chicane down the main straight. Leo leads the way by quite a margin. Anton takes back P2. Nelu Safu is up to P4. We've got all sorts of fighting behind with the Haas of Runner Red and Icky Robo in the Red Bull going side by side for P6. With Faded going off the road. That is not what you want to be seeing. Actually, no, that's not Faded. Yeah, that is Faded, who is now all of a sudden quite far down the order. We've got 3 abreast further back between the RB and the 2 Williams. Faded has dropped from P3 to P13 in the space of about a couple corners. And now this is absolutely treacherous for these drivers. They're 3 wide in the second chicane. There's a lot of drivers off there. That is involved. The Mercedes of Hanzo, Sonic in the McLaren and Faded in the Williams. They're all down the order. They might have damage. No safety car. This has absolutely kicked off. We're going to go back to the battle for P2. It's championship leader versus man in P2. Anton Vigo down towards the chicane, and Vigo manages to defend P2, but Anton is all over the back of him. Safu in P4 trying to defend from Strikey as many drivers are all over the back of one another, but one man who has clear air is Leo in P1. This is all just going the way of the Scuderia this week as we now go round the Parabolica and down towards the end of the lap. Leo sets the fastest lap of 32.4. Don't think there's going to be much competition in that. I say that. Runner Red on the intermediates looks to give him a little bit of one. We've now got a bit of fighting between Runner Red and Strikey for about for P5. Runner Red on the intermediates moves up the P5. Almost has Strikey going to the back of them as we go down towards the Curva Grande. And can the Alpine try and get a fight back? No, they can't, because Runner Red on those intermediates looks to have superior traction as the Haas looks to make their way up the order, doing a bit of a very much a Haas strategy. At Canada last season we saw that happen. Will it work tonight? We now see loads of drivers continuing to fight, then being Marty and John side by side through the second chicane and now into Lesmo 1. Can the Haas get past ICE John? He's going to try and push him as wide as possible without causing any sort of contact. Marty up to P8, John down to P9, and now these two are the head of this second kind of train. Vigo has moved up to P2 in all this. Vigo's still trying to defend from Anton in all this, as Anton tries to get closer and closer. He's got slipstream, but there's no DRS at all when you get round to that main straight. This weather is treacherous. There is basically a smokescreen of water into as the spray continues to be treacherous. Around the outside goes Anton, takes the wider line, and that looks like Vigo has come into the pit lane, maybe looking to change the intermediates already. Runner Red already showing their pace as they go down the main straight towards turn 1. Can the Haas get by the Ferrari? No, they can't do anything there. As we go through the first chicane, Anton now moves to P2. It's now Ferrari 1-3. Runner Red in P4 though looks to try and end that. As we go down through Curva Grande for the 4th time this race. Boeing 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That's not what you'll be seeing if you're that Aston Martin, who is already in P18. It's all to play for still, though. You cannot give up. I see John has got back past Marty in all this as we now continue on, as Marty looks to try and defend from the Williams of Haas Steel and the Aston Martin of Dan behind. A massive snap of oversteer there for the Haas. Does not look comfortable in these conditions, and again trying to it had just a little snap there, but it's very much closer to ICE jump as we go down towards the Ascari chicane. Tried to look to the left, tried to look to the right, but there's not much he can do. Meanwhile, Dan's trying to make a defense, an attack on Haas Steel. Haas Steel not able to do anything there, and trying to makes the defence, but now he's trying to make an attack on Marty. Here we go. Can the Williams find a way by? It's going to be a dive to the inside of Parabolica. Will there be space given? There's a bit of contact mid-corner. This is opportunistic, as now that contact has continued to happen as we go through the Ascari chicane. There's a safety car, and what has caused that? There's a lot of drivers jumping into the pits. 10-second time penalty for Rowley for speeding in the pit lane. And that has potentially flipped the race on its head. A lot of drivers already in the pit. However, we're already past the safety car, so we've got a whole lap yet. There's this Marty has gone round, and I wonder if there was any sort of contact. I'm not entirely sure if that was under their own power, and that will bring the field right back together. It is treacherous out here. I don't know if there was actually anyone who actually got caught in any sort of contact there, because it looked like everyone was still going. But anyway, we will continue on with everyone now filing round. We've got some intermediate drivers appearing at the back end of the field, but Runner Red on those intermediates already could look to take P1 if V10 Leo decides to pit. Boeing has retired from the session in the pit lane, maybe, I believe. And that is the end of the Aston Martin's day on lap 5, as we just settled down. A lot of drivers, though, have lost out and gained positions. 10 positions gained for John, 7 for Lusafu, 9 for Runner Red. Our biggest gainers, our biggest losers in positions, though, is Sam Harding after that drive through. 15 positions lost, faded with 12 positions lost after an absolute chaotic opening 2 laps, which ended Exotic right down the back. 10 positions lost for Vigo, but I think that was due to them pitting. So we see everyone file into the pits now, as the people who have already pitted will not be too happy with that. We now have everyone come to pits and put on a new set of intermediate tyres, apart from Runner Red. Actually, no, Runner Red does come into the pits, put on a new set of intermediates, so they won't lose out, but they do have the same freshness of tyres. Marty and Sonic remain in remain on their full wets with P1 and P2. Never mind, Sonic is on the intermediates, so Marty being the only driver left on the full wet weather tyres. Steel also and Rowley both going on to fresh wets. Might not be the right call here, considering Rowley might be coming into the pits for intermediates now, but it might not be the right call, because these drivers are going to have intermediates which seem to be a better tyre when it comes to these any sort of rain conditions. People have learned. Marty, though, leads the way on full wet weather tyres. However, they may struggle. Sonic with 5-lap-old intermediates. Yes, they are on the inters, but they will not be able to go to the end on those inters. I don't think anyone on the inters will be able to go to the end, but some might be the tyre whisperers of the league racing, so we'll never know. But we've now got no drivers with penalties now. Everyone has either served them or Boeing, who has retired. So 17 drivers left. We are on lap 6 of 27. Who could take this one? It's still up in the air. It's absolutely astonishing what rain can do to a race, because it means that that every opportunity that you might have at winning could go out the window by a snap of your fingers, by a snap of oversteer, by any sort of issue for a car in front, for any sort of issue for a car just behind, no less. So it could. The rain makes everything a little bit more difficult, but it also makes people who find wet weather their strength than dry weather certainly more likely to come out on top. This is where the best drivers truly come out, because there's no DRS either. Slipstream is still a factor, yes, but DRS means that there isn't no DRS means that there isn't as much in terms of slipstream trains. It's a little bit easier to get out of that window of fighting. Not impossible, considering we are at Monza. However, not entirely like easy, but it's not impossible, because even though we are at the Italian Grand Prix and the Temple of Speed, we're just waiting for the rest of the field to catch up, and we should be going underway at the end of this lap. Marty will lead the way ahead of Sonic, ahead of Leo, ahead of Runner Red, ahead of Anton. It is ahead of Nello. It is Haas, McLaren, Ferrari in our top 6. Now, will that be the same by the end of lap 9? Well, by the end of lap 8? We'll have to wait and see. We've just Rowley looking to catch the back of the field now. We've got 20. We'll have 20 laps to go. Who going out the top? Has Marty made the right call in staying on the wet, or is that just because Runner Red pitted for a new set of inters, or has Sonic made the right opportunity to decide to just take the track position gain and take P2 and then pit later on? Safety car is in this lap. Has Leo made the right call in pitting? Has Runner Red made the right call? It could be anyone's game, as we've got a long way to go, probably about half hour left. So we've got a lot of time to sort this out. Hopefully no more safety cars. However, I do believe that was because of the wet weather. I'm not entirely sure. I never saw an incident, but we will continue on. With everyone looking to go getting themselves underway, get their tyres, a little bit of extra warmth in them before the safety car peels into a pit lane, and Marty sets the grid off for the 8th tour of the 27. We go around Parabolica now. When does Marty set off? Marty decides to set off early, try and get the gap, the gap early. Certainly Sonic is not too close, not as close as Leo is to the back of the McLaren. Here we go into the first chicane. Sonic has to defend from Leo, as Leo dives up the inside into turn 1. Marty has no sort of defence needed. However, around the outside it will turn for Leo, who will ultimately have the traction through turn 2 and will take away second place from McLaren. Runner Red up to P3, and Runner Red is now going to try and make an attack on the Scuderia as he goes to the outside for the chicane. Is this the opportunity the Haas is looking for? No, they can't, as Leo slams the door shut as we go through the second chicane down towards Lesmo 1. Can Leo try and continue to defend and try and attack Marty in the other Haas? He's in a Haas sandwich right now as we go through the second Lesmo. And now Runner Red trying to make their way by. Leo trying to defend. It does seem that full wet weather tyre is still working to some extent. It isn't falling off the pace. However, we're going to now go into the chicane. There's a bit of battling up behind. We see Sonic having to defend from Nelu Safu in P5. However, it is very difficult out there, as we now see. We see Runner Red looking to try and make a move on V10 Leo. Here we go. They've both got slipstream from the Haas as Runner Red makes his way into P2, but no dismay. Will Leo try and try and attack? He'll try and attack back. He will still have that his front wing involved. It is now turned to a whole car length involved. Here comes Anton in the McLaren. We're going to go 3 wide here between these 3 drivers, and now there's a bit of contact there, and this has allowed the Haas's to now go side by side into the first chicane, causing a rolling roadblock between the first 2. between the top two. However, I don't think Martin will let this go lightly as we now go through the Curva Grande. This has allowed Runner Red through. Marty is now to defend from Leo. Leo trying to make an attack and trying to get by as quickly as possible, because otherwise he'll let Runner Red go. Into the chicane we go. Can the Ferrari make their way by? Yes, they do. Gives enough room to the Haas, who now has to defend from Anton. This is becoming more and more of an issue because they're going to continue to tumble down the grid as they go wide. And that has not just lost them one place, but not just two, but three places. The Marty down to P7, run wide once again. This has allowed Vigo to try and get by, as well as striking the other Alpine. This is absolutely gone from bad to worse for the Haas, who is now having to defend from John, who's now gone from first to P10 in the space of about 2 sectors, and make that P11 before even the end of the lap, because here comes Dan. This could be the opportunity as the Aston Martin moves up to the points playing positions, fading up the inside. This has been absolutely catastrophic for the Haas, who was leading off the safety car restart from P1 to P12 in a single lap, and Marty will not be happy with that one. It just kept happening, it just kept tumbling, but a couple errors did force that, but it was yet to be. Anton has moved his way up to P2, and now Leo is looking to try and retake that. Nelu Safu is behind him with Sonic in P5, Icky Robo and Vigo and Strikey P6, P7 and P8, and now they're all lining up for an attack on Leo, who at the start of this race had a massive gap and now is down in P3 by 1.7 seconds behind Runner Red in the lead. The Haas driver made a masterclass of strategy to start on the intermediate tyres when they were so far down the order, and now they are in the lead. Anton is trying to make a move to catch back up though. 1.3 seconds behind he is, and we see Sam Erling, who started this race in P2, got a drive-through penalty for a jump start. Is now up into P12 after being stone dead last at the end of the first lap. Looks to try and make a move on Marty, who had made a place after John had made an error, and now he's up to P12. Sam is trying his best to find his way back by Marty, back down to P12. This could continue to fall as here comes John, who retakes P12 away from Marty before we get to the hairpin, and that has sent the Haas into tatters. We are now on to lap 11. Anton is closing in on Runner Red, but it's only little bit by little bit. These drivers are still very close. We're going to see Leo having to make a defence. Never mind, he's moving out of the way. Bit of team orders there, bit of team play as Safu has moved up to P3. Leo clearly not finding that he has the pace, looking to use his teammate if he has some himself. Icky Robo will now be seeing that though, and be trying to look for a way by on the stricken Scuderia, who was once leading. We will now go through the second chicane. Can the Ferraris make their way towards our race leaders? Anton, Runner Red lead the way, who can take away this win from one another. We've got an opportunity for the Haas to defend. However, Runner Red needs to make that points gap up, but has the man who took away P2 in the championship away from him last week, has that driver got the chance to take away P1 in this race once more? We've got Ascari. He now slipstream down towards the Parabolica. Runner Red looks to has a fair bit of a gap. However, that McLaren is certainly in their rearview mirror. A bit deep there from Anton, and that has certainly cost them time. The McLaren did not take the optimised line there and lost 0.4 of a second in that brief moment, allowing Nello to get right back on the back of them, and this could be costly because that has allowed the Ferraris right back into the game. Into the first chicane we go. Runner Red leading the way on lap 12, and it looks like Anton is trying to get by for Anton is trying to get by desperately for P1, but there's not much the McLaren can do at this stage. That Haas does look fairly quick as we go through the chicane now. Anton maybe looking to have a little bit more downforce, has a little bit more confidence in a lot of the corners throughout the lap. Maybe Runner Red is running a bit less downforce and a bit so they can get a bit of a higher top speed in this race. Anton looking to try and dismount the and get ahead of the Haas. We now go down towards Parabolica. Runner Red having to try and duck out the slipstream to try and get break the slipstream, so Anton cannot get any more closer. However, that McLaren has set his sights on that rear wing, and that race lead of the Haas certainly is getting closer and closer to it. But he's got to be careful. He don't want to get any sort of tunnel vision, because it could cause an error like we saw here in the previous lap for the McLaren. No sort of error this time round. Half a second cover our top two. Second behind them is the Ferraris. As we now go down towards the first chicane, Haas, McLaren. Who's going to take this one out on the exit? Down the inside goes Anton. A bit late on the brakes as well, trying to make sure they can get firmly alongside the Haas. He's going to make the cut back there as the McLaren tries to get a cut back, but a bit of wheel spin on exit certainly does not help him. Not often we see a cut back at the first chicane. Almost made it work, but a bit of a wheel spin cost him, and Runner Red keeps the P1 through purely just managing to keep the tyres and keep the rear end in check and keep the throttle application on point. We now go through Lesmo 1. Can the Haas continue to defend? He made it get on a bit wide there, not quite getting the line that they want. A bit of a back end loss there is not helping him, as the McLaren sees this and just knows that he can get by. He's seen his errors, seen the pressure Runner Red is getting put under him, and the McLaren is getting ever more confident as we go through Ascari. Right up the back of him he goes now as we go down towards Parabolica. Slipstream, 3/10 of a gap, but he's not going to have to just attack Anton. He's going to have to defend, as Nello is trying to make him trying to get closer and closer. V10 Leo is trying to get closer and closer. That McLaren cannot be entirely focused on Runner Red. Runner Red just has to be focused on defending. Anton has to be focused on attack and defence, but he's decided attack is the only way forward, and he goes into the race lead. The McLaren has taken it away from Runner Red, and we go into the first chicane, as the Haas not able to do too much, but the Ferraris still a bit behind. Icky Robo in P5 has joined this fray, but has got a 3-second time penalty. We are on lap 14 of 27 as we go down towards the end of Sector 1. Runner Red looks to try and reclaim that P1, however, does not look nearly as confident as what Anton does in that McLaren on through the corners, and this is now becoming a game of catch up. You don't want to over push it here though, because if you do, that's going to let Nelu pounce quicker, and that's going to also let V10 Leo through and Nicky Robo have an opportunity as well. We're going to see Aragon down towards Scari. Can Runner Red continue to fight this one? He's losing time now to Anton. He's losing time, but luckily he's gained a little bit back there, but it could look like he might run out of opportunity to keep up, because that McLaren looks ever so fast through Parabolica now. A bit the back end not being entirely compliant with that Haas as they go down towards the line. Lap 15 we enter of 27. The top 5 separated by less than 2 seconds. Can the Red Bull try and make an attack on V10 Leo? Leo had to go for a little bit of defence. That has put him offline. Here comes Icky Robo as we go down towards Curva Grande. Can the Red Bull try and make his way by? But unfortunately, it does not look like he can do so. Leo defended that quite nicely. However, it has put him a little bit further back from the top 3. Not for long though, because these guys got slipstream, got the toe, and they can continue to catch up. We are now going to go through towards the second Lesmo now. Anton continues to lead the way, gets a bit of back end loss there, as that despite that, continues to pull away. 8 tenths is now the gap between them and Runner, and Anton trying to break the toe, trying to get a bit of water on their tyres as well, because if you look at the skies, it is no longer raining as much. It is slightly drying up, but is it going to get dry? We'll have to wait and see. Going to go down towards Parabolica, Runner Red, and Nello going to try and catch back up to Anton, but Nello is all over the back of the Haas. The Ferrari, seeing that lead beginning to slip away, decides to pit of all things, and 10-second time penalty for Nello. Frustration for that Ferrari, who looks to try and get some form of undercut onto a new set of intermediates. It looked like it is now turned to dust. Their chances of winning has gone up in smoke as we now see that Ferrari come out the pit lane with a 10-second time penalty. So that leaves us with 4 drivers at this front battle. McLaren, Haas, Ferrari, Red Bull are leading the way. The Red Bull Ricky Robo, 3-second time penalty, but the top 3 remain penalty-less for now. But it is so easy to pick up a penalty around this circuit. There seems like a limited number of corners to do so, but the amount of corners where track limits are your enemy because you want to maximise your time is certainly all of them. So we now go down towards the Ascari chicane. Runner Red keeping that gap firmly around 7 to 9 tenths, but Anton is looking to pull away even more. He's pushing that car to the absolute limit of pace, and that is causing it might cause him dividends as we now go down towards the chicane. The McLaren is not did not get the most comfortable of exit, and that has allowed the Haas to get a little bit closer, the closest it has been in a number of laps. Leo now pits, doesn't do the same as what they done, as their teammate done on the previous lap in getting a time penalty. So the Ferrari looking to get an undercut, the McLaren looking to try and to stay ahead of the Haas. He does so, and the Haas looking to mount a challenge. Iki Robo, 1.5 seconds behind them, is looking to come back and try and get an overcut on the Ferraris, or at least get closer to these top 2 at this time. But with only a handful of laps to go, it is becoming more difficult. And we go through the second chicane down towards Lesmo 1. It is certainly the fight that is on. We are now seeing loads of drivers go into the pit lane. About half the field is, or about part of the field is now made their second load of stops. Marty in P10, the only driver who has not stopped this race. Quite surprising they have decided to stay out and stick it out, but I guess that is what they that's all they see themselves in getting points, is everyone else pitting. We are now going down towards Parabolica. There seemed to be a gap initially open up in before Ascari, but Runner Red has certainly closed that after Anton having a bit of an error. We can now go through Parabolica for the 17th time to end the lap, and now we go on to lap 18 when can the Haas pounce before or does the McLaren? There's a yellow flag for the Williams of Faded, who is on the dry tyres. Don't want you to get involved in this, mate, because you're luckily ghosting is enabled, but you do not want to get involved in such an intense title fight, and such an intense fight for race wins. Sorry, and now Faded, who started in P3, is a lap down on the dry tyres, trying something different, but really it is certainly not dry enough for them. It's still raining. There's still rain in the air. As we're now reaching the final part of the race through Lesmo 1, and once more the Haas looks to try and close up that gap, but it just seems like Anton has it down at the moment. Yeah, makes a mistake here or there, but Runner Red equals that by making just as many. And we now go back actually to the battle for P4, because Striking Dan quietly made their way into this fight. Maybe they see themselves as trying to go to the end on these tyres, 12 lap old tyres for the top 5, the Ferraris, on brand new sets, but they've got quite a lot of gap to make back up? Has people been conserving their tyres, or are they looking to make some moves? Sonic has moved their way by Marty for PA, and we see Runner Red make their way into the pit lane. The P2 driver, where do they come out in comparison to the Ferraris of Nello and Leo? As we go round the Parabolica for the Scuderias, the Tifosi will be wanting to cheer these drivers on and trying to make sure they bring their cars home. However, that 10-second time penalty has only really left one in contention for that race win. And that is actually quite a substantial gap. Nello and Leo both getting by Runner Red via the undercut after a couple laps, and that is quite a substantial gap, a 1.2 second gap. That might get him ahead of Anton. This could be the opportunity the Ferraris are looking for, with Nello giving a toe to Leo, who has not looked the most comfortable throughout the intermediate period of this race. Now looks to try and get the race win. The pole sitter is now back within a chance, as everyone apart from that top two and that top two have made a pit, and Marty of course have made a pit stop. We are now onto the down towards the Scari chicane. We will see Leo trying to and Nello trying to scamper off ahead of Runner Red, Strikey P6 ahead of Sonic in P7 and Dan in P8. However, faded behind on that dry compound tyre. Not having the best of time, I think. We really hope there's no sort of safety car involved in this latter part of the race. He does not need it. We are now going through Parabolica, and the Ferraris continue to pull the gap. We've got Vigo, who is looking to try and make a move on Dan around the Parabolica, up the inside, makes the move stick. The Hot Alpine up the PA, sets their sights on Sonic and Strikey, their teammate ahead. Can they do anything about it? You know, down towards the first chicane, the Williams deciding that they want to do some drifting, and we continue on. We've now got the battle though between P3 and P4. Will Nello repay the favour for Leo and let the Ferrari by, because that Haas is closing in. If Nello let Leo by like they have there, perfect timing for the Ferraris, Nello can really start to hold up Runner Red and potentially the other two of Anton and Nicky Robo when they pit. If they pit is the question. As we know, go down towards the Ascaria chicane. Will we see Anton and Nicky Robo at the Parabolica come into the pits this time round? I'm not entirely sure. We do. I believe they have stuck it out for another lap. I wonder if they've maybe babied their tyres a little bit more. Nello is going to have to defend from Runner Red, who's up the inside of the Parabolica. There's a bit of contact there between the Haas and the Ferrari. Can the Haas make their way through though? Runner Red up to P4. And now this could be the opportunity as the Ferrari tries to make some sort of attack back on the Haas and try and get ahead once more and try and defend for Leo, who has not quite worked out for the Scuderias because they looked to try and defend their lead. However, it is turned into a battle between Leo and Runner Red, Icky Robo and Anton. Certainly, if they pit, we will get undercut. However, it is by how much which matters, because the tyre offset will certainly help them. However, they look to be just sticking it out now, trying to go as long as they possibly can without having to pit it and trying maybe to go to the end, which is possible. However, it looks like that the Ferraris and Haas pitting at the stage they did, they must have been sorting their tyres. Anton continues on, Robo continues on. Now it is starting to get a little bit nerve-wracking for the 3 behind them, because they thought that maybe they would pit and maybe that would help them. But at the moment, it looks like they've them staying out. They maybe have saved their tyres just that little bit too much, little bit enough more than the rest of them. That's here, Rhino Red. Now down towards the first chicane. Can they attack Leo? No, they cannot at this stage. We'll go back to the battle for P8. Dan, Sonic, side by side into the first chicane. Dan moves his way up to P8. As we see a bit of a battle behind as well between John, Paul Diver and Harstill. John looks to defend. Harstill up the inside. Very big dive bomb. And that causes a bit of a collision. All goes into the side of John. Hopefully no damage for the RB. However, Paul Diver's made their way up to P11. John's remaining P10. Harstill's made... Paul Diver's made their way up to P11. Harstill's down in P12. John's remaining P10. But can John continue to defend, because he's got 2 drives all over the back of him, but they both have 3-second time penalties. He needs to make sure he does not get one and try and stay alive in this race. You go through Lesmo 1, and it looks like the final points paying positions are ever closer. We are now going to go down towards the Ascari chicane. Can the RB do anything in defence? So we're going to have to also switch back at some point to the battle for P3, the final podium spot, into the chicane. John defends from Paul Diver in a good mood, and now he looks to try and pull that gap a little bit more. Leo now has to defend though from Runner Red. The battle for the final podium position. Can Runner Red get his way by into the first chicane? They're side by side. They will be under braking as well. Leo will have to defend hard. However, it is only a matter of time. Maybe not. Runner Red decides to back out of that one. And that Haas has dropped back quite significantly. This is now Lelu back into the battle for P4. Even though that 10-second time penalty, all this will help the his teammate who in the world. Oh, that's a bit of contact there as he tries to go around the outside. A bit of reminiscing from Raikkonen and Hamilton all those years ago in 2018. And that, however, that has allowed has dropped Nelu quite far back. Runner Red has dropped back a second to Leo, and this is really helping Robo and Anton, who look to try and ease themselves to the end of the race. The McLaren leading the way ahead of the Red Bull, but with only a handful of laps to go, questions do arise. How are their tyres looking? They continue on to lap 23. And while these guys haven't been able to hunt them down, they have not been able to do anything with their tyre delta. As we go through the Parabolica, can Runner Red get back towards this battle? We're going to go to the battle for P7 and P8 Vigo. Dan Strikey is also just ahead. Can Dan get by the Aston Martin before it is too late? We're going to go down towards the first chicane. There's not really much they can do. It's quite literally just trying to force errors out of one another, because of the tow that is being earned by the Alpine of Vigo from his team out of Strikey, and Dan unable to do anything. Sonic unable to do anything. As we see a battle behind between John, Paul Diver and Harstill continuing on as we go down towards the Curva Grande. Can Paul Diver try and make an attack and mount a successful overtake on John? No, they cannot. We continue on through the chicane. Not much they could do there. However, John is really trying to defend here around the outside. For P12 goes Harstill, not able to do anything there. Paul Diver, unfortunately for him, has kept that position. Harstill remaining in P12. We now go back to the battle for P3. Leo, once more, getting closed in on by Runner Red. The gaps have certainly closed up. Marty has gone off the circuit at Lesmo 2. It's getting a bit late in the day for a safety car. However, it is certainly not out of the question. We now go down towards the first chicane. Can Runner Red make any sort of move? It's a bit too far back for the Haas. As we now go into the first chicane, someone who is making a move is Vigo on his teammate of Strikey. as Vigo looking to try and make his way, make a breakaway away from the three behind him. The Alpine looking to try and secure that P6. Strikey looking to try and defend, or even maybe try and get a P6 of his own. We now go back to the battle for P3 though. These guys are nose to tail. Leo, Runnered, Nelu Safu for P3, P4 and P5. Is that going to be enough? But the thing is, Nelu's got a 10-second time penalty. Vigo's got none. He's 5.6 seconds back. This could be crucial come later in the race, because that Ferrari could drop down to P9 by the end of it. We now go through Ascari. Runnered looking to try and defend, has been trying to defend from Leno, but he's also trying to look to attack. That Haas is now going to have to do a bit of defending. Here comes Nello to the outside, makes a move for P4 and makes that for P3 a bit wide, and that has not just ended in one position loss but two. Nello was all off the circuit, all out of shape, potentially losing even more positions now, losing even more opportunity to gain positions. That is their race certainly ruined. Runnered to the outside, Leo to the inside. Can the Ferrari defend from the Haas once more? We're on lap 26, a bit of contact there between the two of them, but it's going to continue on. Runnered has had to sit back behind in P4, but he's not over yet. We're going to go around the outside. He's onto the grass, and that is not what you want to be seeing if you're the Haas. However, it is certainly a position you want to remain in, considering you're very lucky to get away with that one. Anton is now having to defend for Mickey Robo for P1. The Red Bull has certainly come into it in the last couple of laps. Anton all over the place in Ascari. This may not be over yet, because it could be an opportunity. If Anton is certainly struggling with his tyres, any one mistake could cause a 3-second gap. Icky Robo looking to try and make their way by and into Parabolica. Nothing the Ferrari can do. We need split screens here, because we've got a battle for P1 and a battle for P3 going on. Here comes Icky Robo trying to make a move for the lead. Onto the final lap we go of the Italian Grand Prix. Down towards the first chicane. Can Icky Robo make his way around the outside? It'll turn to the inside for the second part of the chicane. He's got his nose in front. He's got his whole car in front. That's the Red Bull. Now, with that 3-second time penalty, moves into the lead. Can they get a bit of a gap and hope Anton makes an error? We've now got them two side by side. We've also got Leo and Runnered side by side for P3. Leo defends once more, outbreaks the Haas. But is that enough? Because the Haas is all over the back of him as we go down through Curva Grande. Leo has done an almighty defence here today, despite being slower than the Haas. He looks to the inside, dive bomb from the Haas. Runnered looks to make a move, bit of contact there. There's a bit of ghosting, has caused it. They're ghosting. They're going to be going like it's a time trial now. We're going to go through the chicane. And Runnered has come out in front at the end of Lesmo 1, and that into Lesmo 2. Is it all she wrote as we go down towards the Ascari chicane? Runnered looks to keep that P3. However, it may not be over if we go into the chicane now. We're going to have to switch back to the battle for the race lead, because around the final corner, Robo will win on track, but Anton will win on pens. Anton will take the win in the Italian Grand Prix. We're back to live fixtures though for P3. The battle for P3 is still on, into the final corner around Parabolica for the 27th time. Runnered, after lap after lap of trying, has taken the final podium spot. Leo P4, Vigo P5, Dan P6, Sonic P7, Nello potentially P8, maybe P9 for Nello, P8 for Strikey. And then we will have John ahead of Haas Steel and Paul Diver. Rowley and Marty will be your remaining finishers. Faded, Hans, Sam and Boeing not finishing this race. Anton, though, will take the top step and will win the 7th round of the season and pull himself closer to that championship lead. Robo P2, despite leading on track. That 3-second time penalty ultimately costly as we wind down. That is a podium. Anton, Robo, Runnered, our podium. Leo there you go, P4 and P5, and the rest with Dan, Sonic, Strikey, Nello, and John, all with points. That was an intense race. The rain certainly threw a factor into it, but Anton remained on top by the end of it. Anton is your race winner. So, with that in mind, we will be ending it there. We thank you all for watching. We will be back next week for round 8 of the season, which is at Silverstone in the UK, and then we'll be at Qatar for the second and final sprint race of the season. Then we go to Bahrain, China, and then Spa-Francorchamps to round out the season. We got 5 races left of this season. Who can come out on top? Anton looks to stake his claim. Thank you all for watching, and we will be back next week. Same time, same place, just a different circuit. Thank you all for watching.